ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
Aaron Patterson has been found guilty of murder. Now that the trial is over, Mushroom Case Daily is analysing the trial's most damning evidence and tackling the questions we weren't allowed to answer until now. Plus, coming soon, a new series where we take you through every step of this case, how the poisoned beef Wellington was prepared, the day of the lunch, and the cover-up after. Find Mushroom Case Daily on the ABC Listen app.
When convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in a New York jail in 2019, conspiracy theories about his death began circulating. Now, Donald Trump's MAGA supporters are furious that the US president is refusing to release files, which many think contain a list of Epstein's high-profile clients and friends. Today, John Barron, co-host of Planet America, on why the president's usual playbook for getting himself out of trouble isn't working this time. I'm Sam Hawley on Gadigal land in Sydney. This is ABC News Daily. John, the Epstein files, they're becoming rather a large problem for Donald Trump.
This is really fascinating, Sam, and some would perhaps suggest that it is something somewhere between irony and poetic justice. This conspiracy theory, which he has helped to promote, this has been around for years, that there was a high-profile client list of people that had been not just associated with Jeffrey Epstein, but had used underage child sexual services provided by Jeffrey Epstein. But what is unique now is that because it's Trump's own Justice Department that is saying, well, actually, there is no list, there are people that had previously supported Donald Trump that are saying, I'm not sure we believe you.
Yeah, and now he's really turning on these MAGA supporters who are demanding that these files are released. He's calling them weaklings. He's going pretty strong at this point.
Posting on Truth Social, President Donald Trump lashed out at his political base who have long been calling for the release of the so-called Epstein files, labelling them weaklings whose support he no longer wants.
And this is a fascinating contest. Some of his staunchest supporters in the new media realm, podcasters, very influential people in the American right-wing media sector, are now really raising questions about Donald Trump's complicity in this, or if not his complicity in the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, his willingness to cover up for other people. Because, of course, Donald Trump moved in circles with Jeffrey Epstein for decades. He was close friends, we understand, with Jeffrey Epstein for more than 10 years. And the question now is, do the people, including the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who've been telling Trump he's wrong, he needs to produce more of this information, influencers like Laura Loomer, discredited former administration officials like General Michael Flynn, Trump is essentially now saying, you're all wrong, shut up.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work.
Yeah, incredible that even the House Speaker, as you mentioned, Mike Johnson, he has joined those calling for the release of these files. He's the highest-ranking Republican to do that, and he did it during an interview with the right-wing podcaster Benny Johnson.
We should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I mean, the White House and the White House team are privy to facts that I don't know. I mean, this isn't my lane. I haven't been involved in that. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And
so this is getting pretty big.
The fact that Mike Johnson is now trying to keep both sides of this happy shows us what an invidious position other Republicans are, because even though Donald Trump is never going to be on another ballot, he can't run for re-election in 2028 for a third term constitutionally. He's done. In a sense, he doesn't need a single vote into the future. But if Republicans, the Republican Party that Trump has come to dominate, are going to have a political future, they need to hold on to their support base heading into next year's congressional midterms. Otherwise, they will lose a substantial amount of the power that they now enjoy.
So they don't need too many unhappy people, and the list is growing. The frustration is very clear. Trump clearly, John, he just wants this to go away. He's almost begging, just everyone stop talking about this creep, Jeffrey Epstein.
It's remarkable, Sam. The Jeffrey Epstein conspiracy theory, fueled, of course, by his suicide in a New York jail in 2019, it's kind of overlapped with an existing, even more outlandish and fanciful conspiracy theory, one that was being promoted online by a mysterious character known as QAnon. This was the theory which, as laughable as it seems, many of Trump's supporters bought into. This was the idea that there was a cabal of elites, mainly Democrats, including Bill and Hillary Clinton, who were in fact lizards wearing masks, who were running an international child sex trafficking network based out of the basement of a pretty well-known Washington, D.C. area pizza parlor known as Comet Pizza. Of course, Sam, so many of these conspiracy theories that we hear seem ridiculous, but when there is a grain of truth, a gross distortion of that truth, but there is still something that is fundamentally true about this. Jeffrey Epstein was a child sex trafficker. He did take political figures to his ranch in New Mexico. He did take political figures to his island in the Caribbean, where some of these sex crimes, the sex trafficking and the underage sex, was being perpetrated. And so there are valid concerns about a potential list of Epstein's clients who are perpetrators. So you can see why people are very concerned that there might be a truth out there that can be accessed. But now that Donald Trump is saying, nope, there is no client list, you're not going to find out any more about this, you can see why, as irrational as it may seem, there is a reasonable argument that says, well, we want to know.
Yeah, and of course we had that tweet on X from Elon Musk that was later deleted, suggesting that Donald Trump was actually in these files, right?
And that is one of the more credible allegations, of course. Now, Elon Musk, like Donald Trump, like so many people now in Trump's orbits, have been known to peddle all sorts of conspiracy theories. But when the world's richest man, who also worked very closely with Donald Trump, put something out there, well, it either tells you something about the possible truth of this client list or about the recklessness, the mischievousness of Elon Musk.
All right. Well, John, as you referred to, this latest outburst from the US president and his approach to this is a huge reversal, because before he returned to the White House, on a number of occasions, he was asked if he would publicly release these Epstein files, and he said he would, although with some caveats, right?
Yes, and now those caveats are brought into greater significance.
If you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these, would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
He wasn't so much focused on a client list, which may or may not exist. He was more peddling the conspiracy theory that Jeffrey Epstein may have been murdered in that New York prison, and that it wasn't suicide. This is intriguing, Sam, because this is a conspiracy theory that Trump fostered and peddled and promoted that has now kind of gotten out of his control.
Yes.
And we're seeing this strange defense, which is to say, well, nobody really cares about Jeffrey Epstein anymore. People who do are weaklings. They should just get over it and forget about it. And he's clearly getting very, very frustrated about it.
but I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going.
Yeah, you seriously cannot make this stuff up, John. Seriously. It's too much. But anyway, it was in June 2024. He was on Fox and Friends and was asked about, will you release the Epstein files? Yeah, I guess so, he sort of says. But, he obviously is very reluctant to do that now, although they did kind of come close, right? Because in February, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, announced that she was reviewing the files for publication.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK.
But then that all just fell away.
Yeah, and that's one of the pieces of evidence that those who believe there is a list of Epstein's clients that should be released by the FBI or the Department of Justice, they point to that interview that Pam Bondi did back in February. But she now maintains, and defenders of her maintain, that she wasn't talking about a Epstein client list being on her desk, but just the Epstein files more broadly, along with JFK files and Martin Luther King files.
In February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
Well, John, Trump clearly wants this to just all go away. He's telling everyone there is nothing to see here, move on. But in reality, this is putting him under a huge amount of pressure, right?
Yeah. What we don't know, though, Sam, is does this go away? Does Trump use the power of the presidency and his financial power as well to essentially cut these people off? So many of these right-wing influencers, people that have podcasts and YouTube programs, so many of them benefit greatly from having access to Donald Trump. If they are frozen out because they are no longer agreeing and supporting Donald Trump, well, will they go rogue? Will they be able to influence public opinion to turn on Donald Trump? Or will Donald Trump simply be able to effectively make them appear irrelevant? Donald Trump has a great history of being able to take down his rivals, discredit those who don't agree with him. And it's hard to see somebody with a podcast, even the likes of Benny Johnson or Joe Rogan or Laura Loomer or Alex Jones, it's really hard to see those people being able to take much power away from Donald Trump, and the extent to which, because he's not up for re-election, at some point, of course, he could just wash his hands of the whole group and say, look, I don't care what you people think.
And that question over whether Donald Trump is actually named himself in these files, he has actually been asked directly by reporters about that.
Did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden we went through years of that.
There has been nothing in any court filings to implicate Donald Trump in any of the illegality, but he can't escape comments that he made in the early 2000s about how Jeffrey Epstein, he's a great guy, he loves beautiful women as much as I do, and he likes them on the younger side. Well, now we know that Epstein was a pedophile, that Donald Trump describes Epstein as creepy. Well, Trump's comments then seem particularly creepy in retrospect.
All right, well, John, what comes next then? Can Donald Trump hold off and keep these files hidden, or will the pressure become too great? What do you think?
Well, we don't know what else might be in the hands of the Department of Justice and the FBI. There is an open question as to whether the best option for Trump now is to appoint a special counsel to investigate the whole matter. But of course, Trump will be very wary about the idea of setting loose an independent counsel to look into this whole affair, because at that point, he couldn't protect either himself or people that he is looking out for who may have been associated nefariously with Jeffrey Epstein. So Trump is clearly trying to ride this out. For now, we're just sitting back and waiting to see what will happen next.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we're recording, of course, John, on Thursday, so many things could change when we are asleep here in Australia.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be one of those pass the popcorn nights, I think.
John, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.
John Barron is the co-host of Planet America, which will be back on Monday nights on ABC TV next month. This episode was produced by Cara Jensen McKinnon and Sydney Peed. Audio production by Sam Dunn. Our supervising producer is David Cody. I'm Sam Hawley. ABC News Daily will be back again on Monday. Thanks for listening.